Hottoys' brand new battling version of Deadpool from Deadpool and Wolverine just released, so let's get into reviewing this guy. I got it over at Pop Collectibles. If you want some crazy fast shipping, you can head over there. I gotta say, man, I love this style of box art. I can't wait to see how Wolverine's box looks, but getting into the actual figure, you get so many accessories. Let's get those hands out of the way first. It's the same selection of hands that they gave us with the first Deadpool, but with a fresh paint job. This time around, they're a little more weathered, a little more grimy to match the look of the rest of the figure, and bro, I had to take a quick sneak peek at these head sculpts. I can't believe they gave us 3 whole head sculpts. We're going to take a more in-depth look at them on the figure. I did have to mention this quick because I think Hottoys just forgot to include in the promotional images that you get a pair of swap out eyes. It's a weird pair to include, but a welcome one. One of my favorite parts about this figure is the display base. It's a perfect recreation from that first scene in the film, and you do get this removable log with it that has some snow on it, and the blood splatters on it are just so perfectly painted. My only complaint is that it's that lightweight, flimsy plastic that they used with the first release. I'm really not a fan of it, but you can see the plug in there to light up the base, and I'm not a big fan of how this thing lights up. I wish they could have thought of a way to put LEDs along the interior of the door to make it light up like it does in the movie. Just lighting up from the bottom seems cheap and just not like Hottoys. For weapons, you of course get Deadpool's katanas. They're mostly the same from the first release, just a little more weathered on the sheath. The katanas I wish had some blood on them or something to differentiate them from the first release, but they're the same ones. The dual pistols are also just the exact same from the first release. No new paint job or anything. I wish they would have weathered them a bit more, but they still cock back and have a removable mag, which is always cool. Oh yeah, it's finally time to take a look at those bones, the star of the show. The Wolverine skeleton head and spine look great. I'm really happy they went with this design of the skull and not just a plain chrome skull. That would have been really boring. You do get a movable jaw that opens and closes, and the skull itself is on a ball joint that you could take off if you want to display them separately. You just got to deal with that plain colored ball joint. And the coolest part is that the spine is bendable to your will. It's got a little bendy wire in there, so you can pose it any which way you'd like. Up close, you can see the holes that they poked in it to prevent tearing. The next set of bones is similar in that it has that bendy wire in it, so you could bend it any way you'd like. The bones are still highly detailed, very glossy and shiny, and have that weathering effect to them. You do get another set of this one. It's identical, nothing's changed from that, and you get another pair of smaller bones, one sharp and one normal. I really love the amount of bones they gave us. You can really decorate the display base with these, and of course you get the gauntlets, so you could display them with the Wolverine claw hands. Remember, these are plastic, and we'll take a closer look at that on the actual figure. Speaking of the figure, to me, this is exactly what I remember Deadpool looking like in that final Like a Prayer scene where they fight all the Deadpool variants. This is definitely the Deadpool figure I'm going to display with my Wolverine when it comes in. The dirt and grime is very present, which is of course a good thing, and the claw marks are everywhere. You can pinpoint each claw mark and where it came from in the movie. I think it's just the coolest thing ever. Getting up close and personal, you can really see what I'm talking about, especially on the head sculpt. He has that claw marks in his head and by his eye. You can see it on the body as well. A lot of claw marks, a lot of dirt, a lot of weathering. I think it looks fantastic. They didn't skip out on the back either. You can see more claw marks, and they even weathered the sheath to match with the figure. Same story with the legs, claw marks and weathering, but a cool detail is that the boots have some snow on them. After all this time, we finally got an officially licensed Ryan Reynolds Wade Wilson head sculpt. I think this looks fantastic. I see the likeness from every angle. Of course, it has that connector so you can access the rolling eyeballs. Now, if you know me, you know that rolling eyeballs are like my favorite thing in the world. They just take posing to a whole nother level. You can make him look any which way you want, give him any expression. I really love doing this eye roll expression that I'm pulling off right now. I think it's so in character. For the half masked head sculpt, you're gonna need that same neck connector that you use with the head sculpt, and this thing is just so Deadpool. He doesn't even do this in the movie. Hottoys just included this because it's just that iconic. The eyes are stationary, but this guy does this all the time in the comics. I'm so happy they included it. The Wolverine claws are really easy to apply. You just slide the gauntlets onto the forearms and then put the hands on, and this is just such a cool look for the figure. Like I mentioned before, the claws are plastic, not die cast, so don't be expecting that and try to be extra careful with them. But these things are just the star of the show. They take posing to a completely new level. I wanted to do a quick comparison with the first release. Now, obviously, the first thing you're going to notice is the color difference. Obviously, the first release is not battle damage, so it's going to look cleaner, have that punchier red. Besides the color and paint job, everything is identical. Same body, same proportions, same padding, nothing new here. If you're debating which one to get, it just honestly depends on preference and which accessories you like more. I thought I'd show what the Wade Wilson head sculpt looks like on the first release as well. If you're like me, you're going to keep both figures and use one to display a head sculpt and one to display the mask sculpt, and that's what I'm going to do, and also with the half mask sculpt as well. There is a slight color difference, but it's nothing too crazy. Once it's on display, you don't really notice it. Quickly going over this guy's articulation. If you're expecting anything different from the first release, you would be wrong. For anyone thinking you have to be more delicate because of the battle damage and the new paint job, you really don't have to be. I pose this guy a ton and I've run into no issues. It's basically the same as the first one. The material of the suit, like the first release, is like their new Spider-Man figures, so maybe expect creasing if you're leaving it in a dynamic pose for a long time, but just put him in a museum pose to put it back to normal. Now, I know a change we're all hoping for is a change of the ankle pegs from the first release, and honestly, I really don't think there's a difference. I took it off and it is clear now, which is different, but I don't think it changes the structure of it. Before we wrap up this review, I wanted to do a quick accessory swap because really the first release should have gotten this release's accessories and vice versa. But as someone who's keeping both, I don't mind, and I'm glad I finally have the right accessories for each figure. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this review. Again, I got this guy at Pop Collectibles, but I'm sure some other retailers like 1/6 Dimension or Toys Assemble might have this guy in stock too. If you like this review, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and follow me over on TikTok and Instagram, and I'll see you in the next one.